Hello, welcome back to the Board Games 4K YouTube channel, and this is a channel where we give you reviews, playthroughs, unboxings, and we generally talk a load of bollocks about tabletop gaming in general. And in this video we're going to be talking about a game by Eric M. Lang. We're going to be talking about Arcadia Quest, and in this game you'll be taking control of a group of chibi characters. You'll be selecting special abilities, trying to beat each other up whilst at the same time trying to fulfill objectives that will allow you to win the game. So in this video we're going to be giving you a very brief overview of the rules. We'll be telling you what we do like, what we don't like, and then we'll come back and we'll tell you whether or not Arcadia Quest is still worth playing today and in the future. So remember, if you are new here, then please consider subscribing to this channel. Leave a comment in that section down below, and we'll see you after this. Board Games 4K. So, Arcadia Quest. How'd you play this game? So this game is roughly divided into two phases. You've got the player activation phase, and then you may or may not have a monster activation phase. And in the player activation phase, you've got two options. You can either move and attack, or you can attack and move. So if a player wants to move one of their little chibi miniatures, they will have 3 movement points. It costs 1 movement point to open a door, 1 movement point to close a door, and 1 movement point to move 1 space, obviously. So you've got to remember that diagonal movement in this game is not allowed, and you've also got to be mindful of the fact that there is a rule called full spaces, and there are block spaces as well. So a full space means that there are 2 characters in the space, either monsters or opponents or your characters, but one of them is your own character. So you can move through these spaces, but you can't end your movement in a full space. And the other thing is that there are block spaces. So this means that there are 2 characters, either a monster or an opponent, in the space, but neither of those characters are yours, and you can't move or shoot through a blocked space. Right, so the other thing you can do aside from moving is that you can attack. You can either attack a monster or you can attack another player's character. So in order to attack, you have to have line of sight, and what you do, you'll trace an imaginary line from the center of the space where your hero is to the center of the space where the target is. So if it doesn't cross a wall, a closed door, or a blocked space, then you do have line of sight. And what you'll do, you'll exhaust one of your weapon cards, you'll roll a number of dice, and then you'll check the target's defense. If you roll enough hits, then you will look at the target's defense. You'll deduct the amount of shields that the target's got from the amount of hits that you've got, and then you'll do damage. And also, you've got to take into consideration these things. These are crits. This means that you do 1 damage. It also means that you can roll an extra die, and you can keep doing this. These are cumulative, so if you keep rolling crits, you can inflict an infinite amount of damage. Right, so you've also got to remember that there's 2 types of attacks in this. You've got ranged attack, which obviously needs line of sight. You've also got melee attacks, which means that you can attack characters that are in the same space as yourself, or in one of the 4 spaces that are surrounding the tile that you were located on. And you'll see on these dice, you've got the ranged attack symbol, and you've also got the melee symbol. So obviously, if you roll ranged attack when you're using the melee weapon, you ain't going to do no damage, are you? What do you think you are, some kind of donut? So when you're doing player activations, you can provoke a monster's reaction, and if you do, then you'll have to do a monster activation. There's several ways that you could provoke a monster in this game. You've got the possibility of doing the Mage Knight thing, where you're in a space, and if you move out of a space of a monster that is close to you or adjacent to you, then you will trigger a guard reaction, and then the monster will attack you, right? So also you've got a payback reaction in this game, and that means that if you attack a monster, then they will also get the opportunity to attack back and get a reaction. So what that means is that they'll be able to move and then attack you, and that's how monsters do a bit of damage, right? So you'll keep doing this, you'll keep running around the map, you'll keep beating people up, your players will respawn if they die, but you have to take a death curse token, and that will be to your detriment at the end of the game. So you have to take a death curse card, which could be good, could be bad, could be crap, right? So the scenario is won by the first player to complete 3 quests. One of those quests has to be a PvP quest, or a player versus player quest, and that's one of the quests where you have to beat up another player, right? But all the other quests are different. It's a case of picking up one of the tokens or taking a token to another space. You've got teleportation tokens in this, which means that you can transport yourself from one side of the map to the other, or maybe teleport yourself into a space that is otherwise inaccessible, right? And also you'll be collecting gold that will allow you to upgrade your character, buy more powerful weapons. You'll be able to level up your characters for a certain amount of gold once you've completed the objectives, right? So being a mission-based game, you'll be playing a maximum of 6 scenarios per campaign in this. You'll be noting down your successes or failures on this little map. The player who completes the scenario gets to choose the next ones. You'll be travelling around this map completing different scenarios, and the player who completes the 6th scenario will be the winner of Arcadia Quest. So the first thing that we really like about Arcadia Quest is the astonishing level of variety that you've got with these games. Not only have you got the content from the base game and the Beyond the Grave expansion, you've got the Arcadia Quest Inferno expansion, you've got the Mazmora crossover where you can use the content from that game in this game. You've got the Star Arcadia Quest, you've got the Arcadia Quest Riders expansion, you've got the dragons that you got from the Inferno expansion, and you've got the Arcadia Quest Pets expansion. So there's so much variety in this game. It's infinitely replayable. You know, the board is modular, so you can make up your own scenarios if you've got time for that. But yeah, there's a massive amount of content in this one. So the next thing that we really like about Arcadia Quest is the mechanics. Unbelievably simple. It's just a case of move and attack, or you can attack and move. There's not really anything else to this game, so you'll just be finding yourself like deciding where you want to go, and then you'll try and position yourself in a space that will allow you to complete the objectives. So it is a really simple rule set. I think they were talking about trying to like minimise it even more, trying to get rid of some of the fiddly rules, which we'll talk about a bit. But this game is very simple to teach. There are a couple of fiddly rules, but we do like the simple rule set because it means that once you've got it into your head, you don't really have to go back on subsequent plays, even if you've left it for a little while, to sort of get the rules back into your head. Do you know what I mean? So the next thing that we really like about Arcadia Quest is the crit rolls. The crit rolls mean that you can get yourself out of sticky situations if you're lucky enough. And this is a mechanic that was first introduced in another Eric M. Lang game, Chaos in the Old World. He's retained it. It really does fit well into this game. And even if you think you've got no chance of defeating one of these powerful minotaurs or one of these powerful monsters, the crit rolls give you at least a fighting chance of trying to defeat these big bad beasties, even when you think you're down and they're putting the boot into your face. Do you know what I mean? So the next thing that we really like about Arcadia Quest is the fact that Mr. Lang has made the player versus player quests mandatory, and this means that you are going to have to get involved in some kind of conflict to win the game. And that's great, because if that hadn't been in there, it would have been a case of sort of maybe holding back, turtling your character into a corner, basically building up, not doing anything, and then just running around picking up the objectives. So the fact that you are forced into some kind of conflict kind of goes against the sort of theme of the game. You know, you think this is all sort of nicey, you've got these nice little chibi characters, but really they're just a bunch of backstabbing bastards, and we really like that about this game. So what don't we like about Arcadia Quest? So the first thing that we don't like about Arcadia Quest is the lack of scenarios in the core set. So if all you've got is a core set, you've only got like a certain amount of scenarios that you've got to choose from. Okay, you do get to choose which ones you want to play based on who won the game, but once you've gone through the scenario book, there's not really anywhere else to go with this, because there's not really any guidelines on how to create your own scenarios. And I suppose if you're looking for more scenarios, you're going to have to pick up one of the expensive expansion sets for this, which has more content obviously, but you also have to go on Board Game Geek and have a look for more scenarios. I think there were some extra scenarios that were published or you could download from maybe from the CMON website, but as it stands, there's just not enough stuff to do in the core set, and that's a little bit of a downer, you know what I mean? And the fact that you are forced into playing through a campaign, if you can't get the same people round week in, week out, then you know that sort of campaign-based thing is really going to fall flat. So the next thing that we don't like about Arcadia Quest is something that sort of irks us about a lot of games these days. The fact that there's too many Kickstarter exclusives. And the fact is that if you miss the Kickstarter, there's not really much opportunity to try and get all the exclusive content that is available for this game. And that's a real pain in the neck, because I've seen, like, I think there's a specific character called Pearl, I think it's called. And this is one of the most sought after miniatures in this game. I've seen it go for like 200 quid for a piece of plastic. And the fact that you've got people price gouging all this sort of stuff, it's not really anything to do with this game, but it is one of those sort of symptoms of a Kickstarter sickness that is enveloping the board gaming industry. And I'm not going to turn this video into a rant about the fear of missing out, but it is a massive problem when these sort of games are used to make loads of dosh, and that's a bit of a bummer. So another thing that we don't really like about Arcadia Quest is some of the rules are a little bit fiddly, a little bit too difficult to understand, and that might just be a fact that I'm a bit of a stupid git, but the line of sight is a bit tricky to get your head around, you know what I mean? Especially the rules to do with crossing over diagonal rooms and stuff like that. So I know you're just sort of tracing a line from one to another. You've got to make sure that you really do understand the rules regarding line of sight before you jump into this one, because they can be a little bit confusing. So I'd recommend going and watch a playthrough of this or a rules video, because out of the box, the rules for line of sight in the rule book are a little bit crap. So the final thing that we don't like about Arcadia Quest is the player mats. They're rubbish. They remind us of the same problem that we have with a lot of other games like Eclipse and Terraforming Mars. The cards slide around and it's just a pain in the neck. This game would benefit from a component upgrade that will give you player trays that you can slot the cards into, you know, a bit like Zombicide. I mean, it's really a bit of a no-brainer really, because Zombicide got a component upgrade with the Black Plague where you could slot the cards in, and that was one of the major problems with the original first edition Zombicide, is that the cards and all the bits and pieces just used to slide around and it was just a pain in the bum. So if Arcadia Quest ever gets a second edition, and I hope to God it doesn't, because this game is massive anyway, it really does need to give you a player tray or some sort of, you know, sort of plastic player aid that will prevent all these cards from sliding around like they're wearing ice skates. So to summarise, is Arcadia Quest still worth playing today and in the future? So we are going to say yes. Simple fact is that the stunning production and the simple rule set make this a really entertaining mission-based / skirmish experience. We love dragging this out. The fact that we don't have to sort of really remember how to play this game means it's just a case of setting the map up, chucking your miniatures down, choosing what you want, and then going out and beating the hell out of your mates. It really is a good laugh. We like the fact that all the characters are different. They've all got their own personalities, so you've got an absolute wealth of characters to choose from in this one. Means that really there's no need for any more content. Some of the stuff that you would like, some of the better characters, are unavailable because they are Kickstarter exclusives and they're very, very hard to find, very expensive. So that's a bit of a pain in the bum. If you're a completionist, don't get this game, because you're not going to be able to find everything that you want. Also, there's some wonky line of sight rules that do add a sort of unnecessary layer of complexity to what would otherwise be a relatively simple game. But other than that, Arcadia Quest is a 5-star game. I mean, the fact that you've got this is it's a delightful experience. It's varied. The fact that it's mandatory to beat your mates up is an added bonus. So yeah, like we said, it's a 5-star game. We're going to give this 5 out of 5. We love Arcadia Quest. It's one of Eric M. Lang's finest games, and you really need to have this in your collection, or one of the iterations of this in your collection. So that's Arcadia Quest. Remember, if you're new here, then please consider subscribing to this channel. Leave a comment in that section down below. Give us a thumbs up if you made it this far, and we'll see you next time.